Welcome back to another episode of PWT Talks NXT right here on the PWTorch Daily Cast or on YouTube. If you're watching us live here on YouTube, I'm Nate Lindberg, filling in the host position for Kelly Wells tonight, who's doing the family thing, being a good family man and all of that. So here with me to discuss NXT for December 2nd, the good doctor Kevin Cattani. Not Botani. I almost said Botani. I don't know where that came from. Kevin,
It's not
thanks
the
for
worst thing
joining.
I've been called.
Right? Thanks for joining us today, man.
My pleasure. I'm ready to talk wrestling with you, Nate.
All right. So let's get into it. We'll go with, may as well start with the Obafemi Ricky Sainz contract signing because I don't really know if there's much to talk about there. So get it out of the way to start. We've got, so in a backstage segment, it was a pre-taped segment. Ava sat down with Ricky and Obafemi to do a contract signing for their upcoming match this Saturday at Deadline for the NXT Championship. And nobody went through a table. But that normally doesn't happen if it's a backstage pre-tape like this. I mean, it was basically Ava just saying, okay, here's your contract. Oba was kind of like, all right, hi, Oba was like, yep, I'm here. I'm going to be better than I was before, and I'm going to take the title back. Ricky essentially says, no, you're not. And that was kind of the end of the segment. And there was also the announcement that the match is going to open the show. I think she said it was for the first time ever on an NXT PLE. Wow, that's a tongue twister. NXT PLE. We're going to see the men's championship kick the night off and open the show, which is kind of a crazy statistic. I kind of figured we must have gotten that at one point, but I'll believe her until I look it up for myself. I don't know. Anything on this segment in particular, and how do you think this match is going to wind out?
No, I guess I'm kind of surprised. Well, no, surprised is not the right word. I would have figured as big a names as Oba and Ricky are, why would you not have done this in front of a live crowd? Because I think if nothing else, you would have got the pop on Oba's entrance. And CJ, what's happening, buddy? And so I don't think there was a reason not to, unless one or both of their schedules just precluded them. That said, I am excited for this match. Certainly, if we're basing our opinions in reality, this should be a 4.5-minute squash match. But certainly, we know it's going to go longer than that. I don't know. It's a good question. I think Oba. See, this is the hard dance that we do here on PWT Talks NXT is how many times, Nate, did we think Shayna was definitely getting called up? And how many times did we think Asuka was definitely getting called up? And Bianca, and on. And we were wrong 1,000% of the time. So I think, I don't know what to think, right? Like, to me, if you're keeping Oba in NXT, he should win. Because he is clearly the most dominant force you have in that promotion. But if you're getting ready to call him up, now for what, I don't know, because Survivor Series is over. And so the next big pay-per-view is Royal Rumble, and that isn't until the new year. And so do you want to save his entrance for then? Okay, fine. Then we need to keep him in things. But I guess I just don't see Ricky winning legitimately, and he's a face, so he kind of has to. Like, I don't know. So I usually I'm pretty sure of these things, but I think because we still don't know what they're doing with Oba, I think the outcome of the match, if it's clean, could be indicative of if they're going to wait to pull the trigger on Oba or not. If there's any sort of shenanigans or some sort of like protecting finish, like a roll up or something like that, then maybe it means that that they want to get more out of it. So
Yeah, like for me, I really liked what they did with Ricky. I think it was last week, and he sat down with, um, I think it was Mackenzie Mitchell or somebody. But he said, no, it wasn't because she's in TNA. What am I thinking? Um, but Sarah Schreiber and talked about how he's kind of the underdog and fighting from underneath, and maybe it was just luck where he beat Obafemi, and I kind of like that because it showed that vulnerability as a champion and kind of made it a little bit more believable that if he was to lose, that he might, if he was to lose, might be a little bit more believable, and he wouldn't maybe like get as much heat or heat's not the right word, but wouldn't feel maybe less than, I guess, if he wound up losing his title tonight. I don't know. I almost felt like this was rushed. Like it was on the very last like minute and a half of the show, and it didn't sell me on not only the match, but it didn't necessarily sell me on Deadline, and that should be the last thing that you want to do on a go home show is sell the PLE. Um, so yeah, I mean, I guess the match before that kind of did because the all of the or most of the men who are in the Iron Survivor Challenge against the other guy in the Iron Survivor Challenge and his lackeys, but uh, this final moment, I guess, didn't necessarily cement the Deadline PLE for me as like must watch. I'm still gonna watch it because that's what I do, and we'll be here probably on the VIP or we'll be on the VIP roundtable to talk about it, I'm sure. But yeah, and then as far as Oba goes for a call up, like you're exactly right. I mean, how many times have we said, okay, yep, this is going to be time for call up for them or for anybody? Trick is the most recent example, but Shayna going way, way, way back. Uh, it's a tough call because Ricky Saints, I don't feel like he's at a point right now where if he loses the title, I feel like it is going to probably damage him unless they give us a really good redemption story where he builds himself back up from losing the title, or I don't know, or I feel like he gets kind of pushed down the card, or maybe he's the one getting called up and Obafemi stays. I don't know. Um, and then if somebody does get called up, and I don't think it probably isn't Ricky, it might be Oba if anybody, but I'm thinking maybe either Royal Rumble or Stand and Deliver time frame. Um, the one reason that I don't think they would do that with Oba is because he was off TV for so long, and then to keep him off TV. Actually, I don't know I know the Rumble's in January, but I can't remember the date for the Rumble. But then keep him off TV for like 5-6 weeks until the Rumble, or a few months getting to Stand and Deliver. Um, uh, that might not be an easy sell because he's like I said, he was off TV for so long, came back for like a little cup of coffee for this, and then goes up. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see kind of how this all pans out. But I think you're right. Depending on how this match goes down, whether it's a clean victory or what, could be telling on what the future for Obafemi is. Um, but I could see this match going either way. Um, I, I'm leaning in favor of Ricky Saints retaining simply because he is a new champion and they just had a really quick title reign with the women's title with Tatum winning it for what, a week or 2 weeks. I think it was 2 weeks. So, we'll see. We'll see. Um, all right, moving on to the main event match. As I said, we've got most of the men who are in the Iron Survivor Challenge coming up on Saturday. Joe Hendry, Miles Bourne, Javon Evans, and Leon Slater versus Dark State. Dion Lennox being the fifth man in the Iron Survivor Challenge. Cutler James, Saquon Sugars, and Osiris Griffin. Miles Bourne wound up getting the pin here, about 14 minutes, 49 seconds. The babyfaces kind of did some arguing because everybody wanted to be the one to get the pin. This was kind of one of those, are all the babyfaces going to be able to get along? They may not have necessarily harped on it, but that was kind of implied, I guess. Are they all going to be able to get along since they are going to be rivals just in a few short days? Um, Sorry, just saw Goodfella in the chat. If they didn't put Oba in the Cena tournament, I don't think he's going up anytime soon, unfortunately. That could be a good point. Granted, there are only so many men that you can put in that tournament. I think they made some decent picks, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm still in favor of Oba going up. Not if they don't have anything for him to do, but uh, I don't know. He's just got nothing left to do in NXT other than continue to dominate, which is great. But yeah,
And I
um,
think, Nate, I think the danger there is he's already shown that he is dominant. Like it's almost that situation, in my opinion, that if you keep him down there too long, the shine comes off. Like, yes, he's dominant, but like, what does it do for everybody else in NXT if he just thrashes all of them for 6 months? I don't think it's going to be that long. But you know what I mean? Like, I
yeah,
think he is at his peak ripeness. And Goodfella, I understand what you're saying with them wanting to establish Braun as sort of the monster right now, but I think Oba is lightning in a bottle right now, and we've seen too many cases where they've taken a turnkey performer and waited too long. And so I'm not saying call him up tomorrow, but like I am worried that if you keep him there without a belt, that I think that's going to do damage to him.
it all depends on what they do with him without a belt. Like if he stays in NXT, I'm gonna sneeze 1 second. Sorry, if they keep him on the main keep him on NXT without a title, and when I say a title, I mean the NXT men's title, not necessarily the speed title or anything. But I think it all depends on what he's doing because he could be an attraction. They could bring in somebody from TNA. I mean, they already did Moose, but I mean, that's kind of the match type that I'm talking about. Is they could bring somebody in to go against him, in some sort of an attraction type of a match to keep him relevant and maybe even build him up to that S tier above the A tier where like Ricky Saints is right now as champion. If maybe I don't know, I kind of maybe put him at a B, but that's just me. Um, but for sake of argument, let's say he's at an A tier as champion. Maybe try to move him being Obafemi up to the S tier by putting on some of those attraction type matches. Um, yeah, there are just so many people on the roster. It's tough to have everybody feel relevant all the time. I guess it's not a bad problem to have because we've got an abundance of talent, but it becomes a problem because we don't always get to see it. All right, good fella. I'm hoping they swerve us. Trick is the masked man from Survivor Series. These guys are ready. Literally can write whatever you want. Yeah, I mean, that'd be kind of cool. Unfortunately, you could kind of see some of the skin on whoever that masked man was at Survivor Series. And it definitely wasn't Trick Williams. So there's that. But they could still tell the story, I
Also, I don't
guess,
think
if
he
they
was
wanted to.
tall enough.
No, I don't think so either. I don't know. Everybody's talking about it being Austin Theory. You got some people go, no, it's definitely Chris Jericho. I don't know. We'll see. But
Well,
all right.
as Wade and others have said, you can let it be whoever you want when you reveal because they did a very good job of making sure that all you saw was maybe the little bit under the eyes,
Yep.
but like regardless of body type or whatever, like it could be anybody.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking back
So
to
they
when Kurt Angle was one of the Los Conquistadores. That you could just tell with that body type who that was. Anyway, what were we talking? Oh yeah, that's right. Joe Hendry Miles Bourne, Javon Evans, Leon Slater, Dark State. That's what we were going to be talking about, and then we went backwards. Um, I I don't know. I'm a little. This is kind of what I've been wanting to see out of Dark State, like a little bit more dominant, um, maybe playing a little bit more mind games and things like that with with their opponents. I'm still not bought in. I'm still not sold. And I don't think it's really anything that the guys are necessarily doing. I think individually they're all good. The concept of Dark State is good. I just don't feel like the execution of Dark State has been super fantastic. Um, and I don't know. We saw so many different just so many different matches have interference, and kind of Kelly wrote in his report, schmoz after schmoz after schmoz. I I kind of agree. Like, why can't we just get like a definitive clean win in an like ever in NXT? Um, but baby faces did get a win after a little bit of arguing, like who's gonna actually get the pin. Miles Bourne was the last one to get the tag and came in and got the pin and the win for the team. Um, yeah, let me throw it to you. What did you think of the match? How the four men played together, and then also your take on Dark State and kind of how they've been doing the last, or they've been portrayed the last handful of weeks.
Okay, so I'll start with the end and work my way back. But I think with Dark State, I I think the guys are all talented. Certainly, some have a bit more than others, but as we have seen several times in the last 3 to 5 years, when you create an anti-establishment group, but they subscribe to the establishment, what do you have? And and so when they started off as chaos agents, fine, good. But now that they're just another team, I think they lose some of that chaos mystique, and so you have to make it up somewhere. And I noticed several times, at least twice when it was Joe Hendry in the ring, and at least once or twice, I think when it was Javon, maybe Javon or Leon, and now I'm blanking on the guy, but the smallest of the four of Dark State,
I think that's
in
Sugars.
my
Or no, or oh, no, Osiris. Osiris. I think it's Osiris.
okay, he he seems to be the greenest because there were 3 or 4 instances where timing was off, and I know for sure I saw it in Joe Hendry's eyes once, where you saw he looked upset, where it was like, "Come on, man, we've done this 12 times already. Why couldn't you get this?" And so certainly I don't blame them for trying to put a group together of guys that are mostly green but kind of learning together. But when you put them in a situation against 3 to 4 guys who are further along in their development, it exposes them a bit. And so, not that they don't work well together, not that they, are not going to come into their own at some point, but I do think I in this, and we'll talk about them here in a little bit. In the same way that I think they probably feel about OTM, here are people that have the look and are athletes, but for one reason or another, not everything is clicking yet, and it's not clicking at a speed that I think they hope it would. And so there's my sort of general assessment on Dark State. As far as the match goes, um, I still believe. I'm sure you do too, Nate. Um, but yeah, I think everybody got their stuff in. Um, it, you know, I love the sort of ongoing storyline with Javon and Leon. Um, it's good to keep Joe Hendry in the main spot now that he's a full time WWE / NXT guy.
Which, by the way, I've got to point out the fact that there was barely a peep when his music went off tonight.
Yeah, and I looked at the crowd as he was coming down the aisle doing his, And it wasn't until he got in the ring and started doing the hand wave that I
Yeah.
saw anybody like really up. Now, I don't put that all on Joe. I don't put that all on the crowd. But like, yeah, he is it now that he's not a novelty, he is not getting the reactions he did
Yeah.
even 6 months ago. Um,
And he
so
should.
all that, and amen, amen. But all that said, I thought the match was fine. I think anytime you have that many guys, there's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of chances to do really cool things, but there's also a lot of chance to mess things up. Um, certainly the good guys were the ones carrying the match in terms of their experience. Um, but I think all things being equal, I think I knew that the faces were going to win because of what was riding on it for them. And so they had to because the stipulation was based on those guys who were in that Iron Survivor match. So that said, I think it was fine. They clearly are still invested in Dark State and want to see them do more stuff. So again, with this division, Nate, I try to be far less critical because these folks are all still learning on the go and they're still honing their craft in a lot of cases. And again, even though the NXT folks still have some semblance of the coconut loop, you can see now, especially as we've seen on the main roster, the lack of house shows is really, really
Yeah.
showing itself now because they're just not getting those live action reps anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Things aren't nearly as I don't want to say fluid, but maybe polished, I guess is a better word, as they were pre-pandemic anyway. Um, but yeah, no, I'm in agreement with you. I mean, I couldn't really find anything at fault with the match. It was fine. As most multi-person matches are in NXT, WWE as a whole, a lot of ignoring of the tag rules and things like that, but and a little bit of chaos, but whatever. It's fine. It's what we've got, and that's what we gotta, I guess, come to just learn to love or hate watch. I don't know, one of the two, but it's fine. All right, let's keep going backwards here. What do you think about my man Shiloh Hill, Thunder Justice
I,
Keck?
yep. Well, see, I've watched both seasons of LFG, so I really,
Oh,
really
that's
like
right.
him, and I
Yeah,
and I think he he is by far one of the biggest personalities that has been on that show, and certainly one that like I I can't say I'm the biggest fan of this whole like conspiracy theorist computer hacker thing they're doing,
yeah,
but one of the things that they really played up in the 2 seasons that he was on was how he would go from like smiling and being buddy buddy with you to snapping your neck and sort of that quick switch flip. And so I think they're trying to now give him some backstory, but like the hacker can like that's such a like 10 years ago like Marvel movie thing. Like it's just not a current trope that you would want to put a new guy like I don't see the match. Like I get how they're using it as a vehicle to show that personality of you know what I mean? But like I just I think that's early 2000s like action movie trope and not 2025 WWE trope.
with tonight's with his vignette tonight or promo or whatever you want to call it, um, backstage segment, pre-tape segment, whatever. Um, I kind of got away from thinking about this as a hacker gimmick, and I'm thinking that I almost feel like it's like original NXT Bayou Bray Wyatt mixed with like a tinkerer, like, and I don't have a good other example of that, but like, he kind of starts speaking in riddles every once in a while. Things aren't super clear. his charisma also reminds me a lot of like early Bray Wyatt. And I don't know if that's a lofty comparison, but that is what I see when I see Shiloh Hill in these segments. Um, but I'm thinking of him more as like a MacGyver, not a tinkerer, more of like a MacGyver type.
Well, MacGyver was a
Um,
tinkerer.
yeah. I guess you're right. Um, where he's just kind of good with his hands. He was talking about, rebuilding an engine or something like that. I forget exactly what it was. It was something with his sister. Um, uh, Darkness, I think her name is, if Kelly brought up. Um, so yeah, so I'm kind of getting away from like the hacker thing, but I really like this guy.
Yeah,
I
oh yeah.
can't I
I
can't
can't
wait
wait
to
for you to see him in the ring. Like
that's
he's,
what I was
yeah.
just gonna say that, like, because if he can, because I haven't watched a single episode of LFG. If he can perform in the ring as well as he is, as good as he is on the mic, like they've got something here, and I think they know that, giving him these opportunities. One of the things I said to Kelly, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago at this point. Actually, yeah, it was whenever the first couple Shiloh Hill or the first Shiloh Hill vignette aired. I think that was now 3 weeks ago. Um, I said to Kelly, I know more about Shiloh Hill than I do about all four members of Dark State, and they did such a great job at explaining who Shiloh Hill is and giving him a backstory and kind of explaining why he might be a little bit, or well, I wouldn't say explaining, but kind of sprinkling those little nuggets of why he might be as kind of weird and crazy as he is without getting too far into the weeds there. I love a good character backstory. I mean, there's a reason that I think the Undertaker and Kane story is what made me such a fan of those two characters for a good portion of my wrestling, fandom. As weird and crazy and far-fetched as that story is, it was still good storytelling for the time.
Oh yeah.
I'd say even arguably now. So yeah.
Nate, can we take a pause quick to acknowledge PWTorch senior subscriber Brian Alston, who has said hello to both of us.
Oh, hey,
Hello,
Brian.
hello, Brian.
What's up, buddy? And CJ, I didn't say hi. Kevin did, but I didn't want to interrupt Kevin, and then I forgot to say hi. And don't take that personally. I just forget a lot. Forget a lot of things. But Brian, good to see you, man. Or virtually see you. At least I saw your portrait. But all right, let's keep moving on. We'll Ethan Page. He was trying to leave the arena, and Mr. Guana stole his car. That was kind of funny. Leading up to their match, coming up at Deadline. I believe it's for the North American title, right?
I think
Yeah,
so, yeah.
yeah. Then earlier in the night, OTM they were walking through the parking lot and almost got hit by Raya Connors and Cale Dixon, and I can't believe I remembered their names.
I can't either. Good for you.
Yeah, driving a Tesla through the NXT parking lot. But thankfully, the Tesla is a better driver than they are because it came to a stop and didn't run them over. Which, by the way, I gotta say, if they really did that for real, like, good on OTM for putting Elon Musk's technology like in front of their life. But
Yeah, I
that's
don't know if I would
whatever.
trust a car like that.
No, but regardless, OTM, kind of like yelled at them. Andre Chase walks into frame and says, "Don't worry, I'm going to talk to them." OTM, I forget how they worded it. I didn't write it down, but basically, in so many words that are far cooler than I have in my vernacular, they basically said they'd kick the crap out of Chase University if they get in their way again, which wound up leading into the match, Chase U versus OTM, and why don't I? Which went. Sorry, Kelly sent me his notes, so I'm looking at his notes because on my notes I didn't write down how long this match went. 4 minutes and 36 seconds, as you kind of expected. Chase University getting kind of obliterated by the recently returning OTM. Um, kind of exactly what I expected. I liked this match for for what it was, quick, but it still kind of showed how dominant OTM could be. Kind of a nice, I don't want to say reintroduction because we've seen them a couple times now since they've been back on TV, um, but a nice, I guess, reminder of how dominant these guys can be, and hopefully this is a bit of a bit of a peek into the future for what their future might be while they're still in NXT before potentially getting called up. Um, I say potentially only because we're using the Wes Lee bar there, as Kelly keeps going back to. If Wes Lee couldn't end up making it to main roster, wound up getting cut, who else could? So kind of using that, I guess, now as a bar. Um, but yeah, I like I said, I like this. I think it was a good way to kind of like I said, remind everybody who OTM is, keep them strong, and the two idiots with Chase University there, Cale Dixon and Uriah Connors, they are not quite. They're no. They're no Thea Hale. They're no Duke Hudson. Like they're okay, but they're the new Rockers, the new Midnight Express. It's not.
LOD 2000. Let's go.
Oh God, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, at least that had one of the original members. Oh no, LOD 2000.
It did. It
That
did.
was
It had Animal.
okay.
It had Animal.
I was thinking, well, yeah, Animal and Heidenreich. Did they call Animal and Heidenreich LOD 2000 or just
No, I
LOD?
thought Draws was the LOD 2000.
I forgot about Draws and LOD. That's right. Yeah, that was that was right before I started watching, or maybe right as I started watching was when Draws and LOD. So it kind of like doesn't register in my brain a lot. Um,
Also,
not that
quick,
I think
Nate.
about
Sorry.
that
Do
that
you
often.
want to respond to Brian's question?
Um,
I don't. I
what?
don't have the authority or the answer for that, so I'll let you.
So technically, yes. VIP members can. I think Kelly puts a link the in his report, so you can jump in, or I think he's supposed to. I don't have for some reason I don't have the VIP report up. I just have the regular report up. But if not, next time I throw to Kevin, I'll throw you the link in an email, Brian. So I'm pretty sure I got your email. Um, cool. So actually, yeah, let me throw to you for Chase U and OTM, and I'll dig that out.
Let's do it. All right. So yeah. So I, as someone in the world of academics, I have a soft spot for Chase U. It certainly is not what it was in its past iteration, but I think I like that they're keeping it going. Certainly, these two guys have some work to do, sort of in general, but they're getting TV time, so they're doing something right in the weight room. They're doing something right in the meetings. They're doing something right when it comes to meeting with Sean and whoever else. So good for them. Um, and like I'm really hoping, and I know that we've talked about OTM um, in their initial introduction and sort of as they've come through. And I feel like they have the look and they have a good sort of sense of athleticism. And I just keep hoping, that maybe they could be the next big guy tag team. But I don't know. I don't know what's not clicking. Certainly, they are not the best on a live mic. Their pre-tapes are usually good. Um, so I really want to see them succeed. And so I know that more reps is what gets you there. So if they're getting TV matches, then I think that's a good sign. And I think we'll still kind of ride the wave until they either fish or cut bait. So um, I thought the match was fine. Certainly, you have the little guys create the movement and the big guys to do the impact stuff. I thought towards the end, a couple of the double team moves that OTM was doing, the timing was off just slightly, but nothing that certainly you can't look past. So, yeah, I think it was a good tag team match. I like that NXT still kind of puts a focus on tag teams in general, where maybe the main roster is kind of guilty of not. So, yeah, I thought it was fine. I I hope the Chase you guys come along, but I really just want it to click for OTM because
There's
I
something
do
there.
think there's something to them that yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And I think there's uh, like kind of certain sect of the audience that they really, especially in the main roster, that they would really click with, whether it be as heels or as faces. Obviously, they're much better aligned to be heels, I think, than faces. But hey, the better you are at being a heel, the better face you're going to be eventually. So generally, anyway. Okay, let's move to the NXT Anonymous segment. And I know I watched this, but I don't remember how it went down, so I'm just going to read Kelly's report. NXT Anonymous, now with no specific social media platform attached, was in the men's locker room capturing a conversation between Javon Evans and Ricky Saints ahead of deadline. Evans talked about almost winning the Iron Survivor Challenge last year, but he was taken down by the man who Saints has to face this Saturday, Obafemi. The camera was incredibly close to both of them. Yes, it was. Where I made both of them kind of look like idiots for not knowing somebody was filming them. Um, this was interesting, and I don't know why I didn't remember. Like I could remember the scene in my head, but I couldn't remember actually what went down in it, so I had to look it up. Um, but kind of a weird anonymous segment. Like usually these are kind of stirring the pot, something like that, and this didn't really seem to. It kind of is somehow tying uh, almost tying like Ricky Saint's like legacy, I guess, to Obafemi, uh, or sorry, Javon Evans' legacy to Ricky Saints rather. That makes more sense. That's what I was trying to say. Um, so yeah, it's a little interesting. What do you make of this segment, if anything at all?
Yeah, I well to piggyback on your point, it definitely felt like NXT Anonymous was hiding in like the laundry bin of towels because yeah,
Yeah,
he was way close, but this would have been like the Wile E. Coyote, like hiding in the bush, obviously right next to the Roadrunner. Um, yeah, I also kind of I I know they're trying to story build here, but I think both of those guys really are pretty strong personalities on their own at this point. That I don't know that little segment really did anything. Like you said, Nate, a lot of times this NXT Anonymous has been for a very specific purpose, and this seemed more of a hey, we've got 6.5 minutes to fill between segments here. You guys go talk in the locker room. And I hate to say that because again, these are two of the bigger personalities that NXT has on the men's side, but it was
yeah, yeah. Right. Let's keep going here. Sol Ruka, Lola Vice, and Kendall Gray with Ren Sinclair in their corner versus Fatal Influence, JC Jane, Fallon Henley, and Laney Reed. Um, we saw earlier in the night. It was our opening segment, as a matter of fact, um, where all of the women are in the ring. Yeah, they didn't get entrances. It was just kicked off the show. Everybody was in the ring, if I'm not mistaken. Along with Ava, we had Sol Ruka, Jordan Gray, Soul of Ice, Kendall Gray, Kalani Jordan, and JC and Kalani Jordan. JC Jane hadn't come out yet, but we had all those five who are going to be entering the Women's Iron Survivor Challenge. Again, standing alongside Ava. Ava was kind of giving everybody a quick moment to give kind of, I guess, make their case for why they're going to win the Iron Survivor. Really, in the grand scheme of things, that's what they were doing. Um, I got to admit, I think this might be one of Solruka's best performances on the mic. Not that she's had some shaky performances, that's for sure. But she felt uh, the way she spoke with conviction. It didn't feel like she was trying to recall a memorized script. It felt like she was kind of just speaking from the heart. Um, and I think I don't know, I really do. I think she kind of nailed it there with that promo. Um, we had Jordan Grace. She kind of stepped in for a moment and saying she's lost too many times and she's not going to blow it again. Um, Kendall Gray was also somebody in this segment that really stood out to me for somebody that is in Evolve. I mean, granted, she has been on NXT before if kind of they revitalized Evolve. She was kind of starting to show up in NXT and then level up. Um, but for somebody that's kind of on that undercard show, that I guess new developmental show, even though NXT is still a developmental show, um, I think like on the mic, she stood toe to toe with everybody else in the ring. I again spoke, like I said, about Sol Ruca. She spoke with conviction. It didn't sound like she was trying to recite lines. Just very, very well done. So I kind of wanted to give the two of them props there because they really stood out to me, as did the heel Kalani Jordan. I love heel Kalani Jordan. She was getting Dominic Mysterio level boos from the audience. Granted, when they actually panned out and showed the audience, it really kind of looked like a subsect of fans kind of sitting directly across from Hardcam, and it almost sounded like, because you could almost pick out individual boos. I'm wondering if maybe they cranked the arena mics up for that, but I don't know. That's just me thinking about some conspiracies here. Um, but Kalani really stood out here too. I think cut a very impassioned promo, um, uh, and again speaking some truths, about how she, was the first, WWE competitor or woman competitor to win the TNA title. Um, yeah, was she no, she wasn't the first. The Hardys were the first. She was the second. Um, Yeah, then we had JC Jane come out with Fatal Influence, and um, they it eventually kind of devolves into a brawl, which wound up turning into this match that we're about to talk about. Soruka Lola Vice, Kendall Gray, and Fatal Influence. In the was Yeah, Zarya wound up coming out here, and this looks like it was a Zarya heel turn. It looks like she was going for a clothesline on Sol Ruca. Sol moved, and Kendall wound up eating it. Um, when we saw Zarya in that backstage segment earlier in the night wearing all black, she had the spiked dog collar on, the very mean looking makeup and face paint on. I was like, all right, I think we might have been wrong. I think we might have been wrong. And I called it out. I did call it out last week. I got to give myself some props where um, I said it could, because Kelly was, adamant it was going to be Sol Ruca turning on Zarya. And I'm like, I don't know. I saw a couple things, like some just little pieces of body language out of Zarya during the commercial break, because I watch on premium Netflix, so I don't get ads. I just continue to see the action in the ring. For the most part, sometimes they just cut away to a timer before we come back from break. But in that case, a couple weeks ago, I saw during Sol Ruca's match, Zarya standing out on the outside, and she just was like shooting daggers at Sol Ruca, and I'm like, ooh, that doesn't look like somebody that's going to be getting people they're going to be trying to build sympathy on. That looks like somebody that's going to be turning heel. I did point that out last week. I still did give it like kind of 50-50, but I was still leaning Sol Ruca. But Zarya did kind of wind up. I'm assuming this is the heel turn for her, unless she comes up with some weird excuse as to why she was about to clothesline Sol. But don't think that's going to happen. The whole match was fine. As Kelly put in his report, it was a bit of a messy structure. As again I said earlier in the night, that's kind of just what it is with multi-person tag matches in WWE as a whole. So yeah, let me throw it to you. What did you think of the match? How the women were able to kind of coexist together that are going to be entering the Iron Survivor Challenge. and on the Zarya heel turn.
Well, I'll start with Zarya, and in all of the best ways, today especially, she was really giving Luna Vachon vibes. Um, maybe
Yeah, I
not the
could see
veins
that.
point, maybe not the the veins painted on the shaved side of the head, but it was very like yeah, it was. I feel very Luna. I felt very throwbacky in that way. Um, yeah, and I think one of the last times I was on with you, Nate, we were talking about Zarya, and I wasn't, I wasn't, and I'm still not a fan of them putting her in a tag team when she has such a look and sort of a general aura that says single, like a monster singles competitor.
Yeah.
And so if this is a turn, fine. But if it puts her on the path to establishing herself as a solo act, I think that's what's in her best interest. Because I don't know that she or Soul really needed the tag team. I think they know that they've got a superstar in Soul. And I think if you let Zarya breathe a little bit and sort of build up her personality, there's no reason why the moon can't be the limit for her.
Yeah.
Um, as far as the match went, I thought it was fine. Again, I thought there were some instances of missed timing. um, but again, we talked about it with the men. When you have that many missing part or moving parts, especially when it's not just the 1v1 with the two on the outside, when like you've got 2-on-1 or 2-on-2 or something like that, even though WWE uses one of the bigger rings in wrestling, that room gets eaten up real quick when you've got more warm bodies in there. And I think with as much as safety is a concern, especially with a ring where a couple of those people are greener than others, why take the chance in a multi-person match in case accidents are sort of lurking in the background? But overall, I thought they did fine. Um, I've enjoyed Kendall Gray the last few weeks that she's been on NXT. Um, I think she's come a long way from when we first saw her on NXT, which is great for her. Um, Certainly, I always have a soft spot for Ren Sinclair because that's my little girl's name, and so anytime it's a unique enough name that you don't see it in public too often, and so anytime you see something, it's like when you go to like a convenience store and you have that roll of keychains that have names on them, and you
There
always
was
will see William and Brittany and Stephanie.
and there was never a Nate.
Well, there's never a
Mm,
Ren. And so the fact that there is a performer with her name, my 5-year-old thinks that's the coolest thing in the world. So I think I'm going to have to look. I think she has a shirt on NXT Shop. I might have to get it for posterity. Um, but yeah, I thought the match was fine. And then I think, is it all right if I talk about the opening segment? Did you want to talk about that too in this spot?
oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I threw it in there, but I forgot to throw it to you. So yes,
Yeah, yeah, no,
please.
no. I What was fun to me was I think that Kalani has been getting a bigger negative reaction than she ever got a positive reaction, which I think is good. That means that she's finding sort of what she's good at and how it gets the crowd to move. To me, the downside of that is I don't think she's a bad person at all in real life. And like that's the hard part of sort of suspending your disbelief because even though we know that all of these folks are playing character versions of themselves, I legitimately think that she is probably one of the top two or three like nicest people backstage. And so like there is a small hint of like, I know you're not being genuine, but the fact that she is getting heel heat and not ew go away heat is a great sign for her. And I hope that she continues to lean into it because that's how you move up. That's how you move up the card more. So it was
Yeah.
good to see that. I personally am hoping. Pardon me, it's winter here in Iowa, as I know it is in New England, and my voice is now being dried out by all the snow we got over the weekend.
Uh,
So I
that's that's
apologize.
that's now raining, or I guess snowing down on us here in New England.
Oh, there you go. Well, we
Yeah,
sent it your way. Um, but I think I want Jordan Grace to win this thing. Again, she was one of those that came in ready to rock and roll, having been, oh, 7 inches. Wow, yeah, we got 12 and a half inches, good fella. Uh,
oof.
my
I,
kids
I,
loved it. My back has not loved it.
yeah, like I'm right on the seacoast, so we've maybe got like an inch and a half outside, but I had to go I had to go a little bit more inland today, and there was at least a good like 7 inches kind of coming down. So,
6, 7. Sorry, my kids would love that I just did that.
uh,
Um,
oh
sorry,
God,
sorry, sorry.
uh,
That's what happens when you have kids in the trendy system here.
the Riz or something, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Well, that is one of the words the kids use. I love being an educator because I'm always up to date on the slang. And then, of course, I stupidly use it just to get a reaction out of them. Listen, I am not a heel, but I know how to get good heel heat simply by trying to kill trends that my kids, my students think are cool. Uh, but I want them to pull the trigger on Jordan Grace. I think she has everything that she needs. If you're not going to call her up and you want her to sort of be a veteran down in NXT, that's fine. But let her shine the way that she did in TNA for all that time. Let her be that person. Um, and so I'm hoping that is the case this Saturday. But again, as we know, time will tell. So
Yeah. And just because I can, I was looking, and you're right. There is a Ren Sinclair shirt, so there you go. You can get it for your daughter.
there we go.
Yes. All right. So I was gonna go to Goodfell in the chat. Zarya's entrance, presentation, and look is awesome. Her Grapson character have not caught up for me yet. I'm kind of right there too. In the ring, she's okay, she's good, but I want her to kind of. I always think about, and I use the term Lady Kane in my head, and I'm not trying to go to Tegan Knox here, but I for some reason I make a comparison between Zarya and Kane, and I think it's probably the red and black and probably the entrance and presentation and all that. But I think she should be a little bit more slow and plodding in the ring. Um, let things breathe, which I think most people in NXT, WWE as a whole should do, is slow down and kind of let things breathe and mean a little bit more. But I really want to see that out of Zarya because I think that would really help to play into her strengths and kind of hide her weaknesses, in the ring. And I feel so hypocritical saying that because, man, I don't even think I could lift somebody up to give them a body slam. But, so there's that. But the character just, it never meshed with the presentation. I mean, she has this awesome, just so cool presentation with her, with the look and the entrance music and the video and all the vignettes leading up to her debut. And then she's just one of the girls backstage talking about Maybelline
Yeah.
because they need to talk about Maybelline. They haven't done that in a while, so maybe that contract's over. But still,
Maybe she's born with it.
I see what you did there. I had a lot of white on my screen and it's washing my face out. There we go. Um, so yeah, I think this could be a good turn for Zarya, kind of long term, because I think the heel persona could much more align with the presentation that they've given us for this character so far, and maybe because a lot of times when you do turn and you become healed, you kind of change your move set up a little bit. Maybe her move set does get changed up a little bit, where it is a little bit more heelish, maybe a little bit more slow and
Deliberate. Yeah.
methodical, deliberate. Yeah, that I guess that's the word I was looking for and couldn't think of. Um, so yeah, I don't know, but we'll see. Goodfellow also says something's there, just fully hasn't clicked for Kalani yet. I I think she's getting there. If it hasn't clicked yet, I think tonight. Like I said, I think she cut a great promo. I think she's finally. Actually, I don't even think finally is the right word because I think she has understood how to be a heel. It just may have not necessarily come across on TV because there wasn't a hard turn for her. There were, I mean, months where we were talking about, is Kalani turning? Is she not turning? I don't know. We're not sure. She kind of did some asshole-ish stuff a couple weeks ago, but now tonight she was a sweetheart. I don't know. So there wasn't ever that kind of definitive line where she turned. So maybe that's kind of why it doesn't necessarily feel like it might be clicking for you. I don't know. That's just spitballing there. But I don't know. I'm really digging what she's doing right now. Um, and then and she can also follow it up, in the ring. I mean, from her debut match, I mean, you could tell there was something special there with Kalani. There were a couple rough things in her first couple matches, if memory serves, but the bones of the match itself were really good, and we've seen nothing but good things from her since. So. That said, I have Goodfella says that hasn't really been impressed with JC's handling the role she got. Oh, the role ROLE that she got twice. There we go. I got confused for a second, but that's very easy to do. I I think JC Kelly and I were talking about this either last week before. I think JC did is good of a job, if not a better job than anybody could have expected out of her. They even brought it up tonight, talking about her being the most when she won the title originally, being the most beatable champion, and so she kind of went from that to being more of a serious wrestler and serious champion. She's not my favorite NXT Women's Champion by any stretch of imagination, but I like her better than I liked Mandy Rose as champion. Put it that way. So good
Yeah, and I
fella.
tell you, it's funny because I would have told you from the original Fatal Attraction that she was 3 out of 3
Yeah.
in terms of like what I thought was going to be the long-term prognosis.
Yep.
Now,
Kelly and I said the
Mandy
same thing
Rose,
last week. Yeah.
yeah, Mandy Rose didn't necessarily leave on her own terms. She sort of forced their hand that way. Um, but yeah, I think from being 3 out of 3 to being, a blossoming champion, great for her. Like she's picked up the ball, she's maximizing her minutes, and so far it's working out pretty well for her. So as much as I don't, as much as it's hard to buy her as champ when they've got other maybe more dominating physical folks in the women's roster on NXT, she's doing something right because they're keeping her in that picture. So
All right. So we'll go to the Culling and Izzy Dame calling out of Tatum Paxley, kind of to explain why they turned on Tatum. I mean, we already knew why they turned on her anyway, but this was just them verbalizing it, I guess. Izzy is somebody else that, and I know we've talked a lot about Izzy in this context over the last handful of months, but holy crap, she's gone from somebody that whenever she showed up on the screen, I'd go, "Who's that?" And oh, Izzy Dame, I remember that name, but I could never really remember who she was. She went from being that to now she's somebody that I feel like she's almost the leader of the Culling. Like it was Sean Spears, but Sean Spears and Nico Vance, they just take a back seat. That the last few times that they've been out, in a talking segment like this, Sean didn't say a thing. It's all been Izzy or Tatum when before the
yeah,
turn.
yeah.
But it really feels like Izzy is kind of stepping up to be maybe the if not the leader of the Culling, to kind of step up to be one of the next um, big stars in the women's division. Uh, she can handle herself in the ring, and I think she proved tonight this talking segment that she can handle herself on the mic. Um, Tatum Paxley kind of coming up on the monitor and having all of the makeup running down her face, from all the presumed crying, and sitting in on the stools where Dark State, where the Calling would do their promos and stuff backstage. I thought it was a nice little touch. Uh, I'm looking forward to this match coming up between the two of them at Deadline. I mean, there's a lot there. There was a lot of feel good moments when Tatum won the title, and then we saw it get ripped away from her just a couple of weeks later, which in hindsight definitely makes a lot of sense as to why we were kind of scratching our heads as to why she won the title. But not that I had anything against it. I was all for it, and even made some cases for her being a long-term champion. But yeah, there's some, I guess, kind of a bit of a blood feud, if you will, in this coming up match. I so let me throw it to you. How did you feel about the turn on Tatum, and then leading up to this segment and into the match on Deadline?
Sure. So, firstly, sorry, before I get into this, and I will apologize to Izzy. Who who is the ninja sword? I'm getting Izzy and the ninja sword lady confused.
Oh, um, Carmen Petrovic.
Ah, okay, okay. Is she hurt?
I don't know. I'll
Oh,
find out
I say
because
I don't know why I get her and Izzy confused, but I'm like, wait a minute, where's the ninja sword? But it wasn't her. So sorry, I digress. Um, yeah, I am interested in this match as well. It definitely sort of has that Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker.
Evolve. She's in Evolve.
Oh, Evolve, okay. Vibe where it was like I brought you in to mentor you, but clearly you are lacking, and so now I'm turning on you. Um, and so I think it's a classic storyline that we follow. Certainly, um, um, there's a little special brand of crazy going on Tatum's side, which is fine. But and I don't know if this is a stretch, Nate. So you check me or don't check me. But as Tatum ended her backstage promo, I got a little bit of the Champa vibes when he would kick the trash can or push the camera out of the way. Like the way she sort of just got up and went out felt a little Champa-y to me. And if that's the edge that she's going to come with, or that part of that, I think we have a chance to see a really cool match at Deadline. So
I I didn't put two and two together like that, but now that you say that, I can see where you're coming from. Absolutely.
now again, it
Um,
was not full on, but like
right, but I mean, I could see. I mean, it's like me making the Kane and Zarya comparison. It might not be full on, but I can see where you're going with it. Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. No, definitely looking forward to this match, and I like this kind of duality that Tatum has right now. This kind of, it's almost like Mankind back in the day. This like dark, brooding uh, persona, but there's also this vibrance in there too. That comes out when it needs to come out.
and I
But
think Nate, have we stop me if we've talked about this before, but I feel like Tatum is what they hoped because I know we've said this before about other characters as you've seen like a person take over. To me, this current iteration of Tatum feels like what they hoped Wendy Chu would be, but they went too hard into sleepy, stuffy doll with Wendy Chu, and so they
yeah,
couldn't bring it back from that. And so this is like, here's all the beats we wanted that she's doing really well without the PJs and the like weird eyes and the, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
no,
Where it's like that
it
similar
definitely does.
brand of weird, but
It
like in
def
that,
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does. From my understanding, Wendy Chu came up with that gimmick on her own, and I guess kind of had some say in the direction from what I remember. Don't quote me on that. I'm going off my memory, and
I'm quoting you.
yeah, and we all know how my memory is. But I'm pretty sure that's the case. Um, but I can see, yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that. Like, it's definitely some similarities there. But I don't know. I really like the way that they've been pulling it off so far, and
Yep.
I think whatever we see at deadline is, I think, is what's really going to kind of mold the future for these two. Because I think both of them are kind of on the cusp of breaking into that main event scene. Tatum, I mean, just won the title, so they wouldn't hot shot a title to her, or hot potato, I guess, a title to her and off of her, even just for a couple weeks, if they didn't see something there, because you don't really mess with your title scene. So they wouldn't have done that if there wasn't a reason for it, and they didn't see something within Tatum. So and in that respect, also Izzy Dame, because she's the one that is going to be going into this feud with Tatum, coming out of the title win. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I think, like I said, whatever we get here, and how good this match could potentially be, should potentially be, it could be like the biggest match of their careers. Because if the crowd doesn't latch onto it, or the story kind of falls flat, then maybe they get relegated to the mid card or something like that. But if they are able to tell that good story and get the sympathy on Tatum that I think they're hoping to get on Tatum, and that I think they've done a good job thus far getting on Tatum, I think we'll be in good shape. All right, Tavion Heights versus Josh Briggs. This I liked this match. I'm pulling up the times because I don't have it right. I do now have it in front of me. It was 11 minutes and 35 seconds. Um, like I said, this was a really good match. Briggs did get the win after a lariat. Um, uh, I I feel like they were both in a position where they needed a win. Tavion Heights always keeps losing when it matters. Josh Briggs always loses when it matters. So I don't think there was a really a way to get out of this without making one of them kind of feel a little bit weaker. And I think they went the right way here. Josh Briggs, the story that they're telling with him right now, wanting to, basically take out all the faces in NXT, and show how dominant he is, and how he's the most dominant person on the roster, yada, yada, yada. I like that story, and I think that story could have been undercut if he lost here tonight. Tavion, even though he needs a win, desperately needs a win, he's that scrappy up and comer underdog type where they just tell another story, and I think he'll be fine. He's new enough to the roster and all of that, where I think he can kind of eat another loss here, but I don't think he can eat many more. I think they really kind of need to uh, get him some solid wins, and I want to see more of that Tavion Heights that we saw at Gold Rush. I can't remember if it was night one or night two, where he was out in the crowd with Sarah Schreiber, and she basically just put a mic in front of him, and he just talked. He didn't really. You could tell, he had a couple things that he needed, a couple bullet points, but he wasn't scripted. He was riffing off the fans. He brought out this charisma that I have not seen from him, and I've seen him in person a handful of two times now, on two different NXT shows. I have not seen this charisma out of him before, and we saw it, in that segment at Gold Rush. I'd like to see some more of that. Like like I keep saying, this American gold medal, or not gold medalist, because I don't think he won a medal, but this Olympian um, character was great with Kurt Angle, and it just kind of keeps getting watered down every time they do it. I think he needs something more. So yeah, the match itself, like I said, I think it was a good, hard hitting match.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so nothing bad to say about it there. I think the match was perfectly fine. And definitely did some good for Josh Briggs. But yeah, Tavion, I think if they are serious about him and they want to push him, like now's the time. So let me throw it to you on this match, and then kind of how you feel the individual trajectories are going for both Briggs and Heights right now.
Sure. Uh, yeah, I thought the match was good. I think they were both they're both athletic guys. Certainly, you can tell that Tavion has a good deal of that amateur wrestling background and a lot of what he does and how he moves. Um, I tonight's been a night of comparison. Boy, if I was writing an email tonight, you'd get a 3-page email of all my comparisons here. I think
Well, I'm
Briggs.
glad you're on the show.
There you go. And I agree with Goodfella that Briggs does put on. He has become a very good in-ring wrestler. I do think, to the positive, he gives me. For those of you who have only just started watching NXT, you might not know this, but at one point there was a tag team called Heavy Machinery, um, in which our good friend Otis, who at the
Tucky.
time was known as Otis Dozovich, was one half, and then the other half was a gentleman named Tucker Knight, who, if Otis was the small, stocky power guy, Tucker was the more perhaps nimble, taller. And I feel like Briggs is a Tucker 2.0. And I say that again with good because I think he moves in a very athletic way for being a bigger guy. But I think in the same way that Otis is still around and Tucker isn't, I think that Briggs really needs to work on mic time. Um, and I think that's really what his next evolutionary step is cutting better promos because I think he very much can carry a match and I think he very much has shown that he can work big and work impactful but work safely, and I think that's sort of the name of the game right now. um, but yeah, I think in a lot of ways he's Tucker 2.0 in the fact that he's a bigger guy that can move. Um, and I think it's one of those things, Nate. And I'm sure we could do this with a lot of wrestlers from 1910 till present, but sort of that right guy but wrong time, right? Like I think Heavy Machinery did what it needed to do in the time that they were in NXT and the black and gold brand. But like I wonder what they look like if they're in today's NXT, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe we were not ready for a Tucker type as a singles guy back then, but now we are. And so, I know that Briggs has sort of taken it to his own part Undertaker, part Tucker, part. I'm trying to blend all of his vibes when he comes out to the ring. But yeah, I think he's growing a lot, and I think they're very happy with him. Tavion, I think his athleticism is off the charts. I don't think I don't think there's too many people that outwork him in the weight room. I can say that much. I think, like anything else, the reason he was in No Quarter Catch Crew is probably the same reason why Briggs and Jensen were together, is that he's also not a great talker, and you can shelter some of that when you're in a group of people where you can spread the talk time. But he's got a good look. He works well in the ring. I think he's very athletic. If we want to see the next step for him too, I think it's on the mic. And so maybe they do some film study on good promos and timing and all that because I think that is their next evolution. But I thought the match was very entertaining. Um, to be honest, when you said 11 minutes or whatever it was, I would have told you I thought it went longer, like in a good way. So I think I was surprised to hear you say 11 minutes where I didn't realize it was that short based on how it felt. So give them more TV time. I think they're doing a good job.
Say her name, and she appears. I believe in Thea Hale. We had Thea Hale with Joe Hendry versus Ariana Grace and Stax. Earlier in the night, we saw Hendry talking with Thea backstage about how Joe Hendry was picked by the man himself, John Cena, to be one of the participants in the Iron Survivor Challenge. And then you could kind of see there was a doorway, I think probably leading to the outside. I'm not sure. Right behind where Thea Hale and Hendry were. And you could see Stax and Ariana Grace kind of walk through the door, being a little bit annoying and obnoxious and lovey-dovey, a little maybe showing a little bit too much PDA because
You
being a little
fuddy-duddy.
loud. I know, right? Well, maybe not for me, but maybe for Thea Hale because she seemed a little bit offended by the PDA and how loud they were interrupting her conversation with Joe Hendry. Um, the Stax and Ariana kind of mock Joe Hendry and Thea Hale, um, and wound up getting Thea Hale gets in Grande's face. Ariana Grande, wow, Ariana Grace's face,
Hello,
and
Ariana
yeah,
Grande.
Ariana Grace's face, and says, Joe Hendry believes in me, and I'm going to believe in myself, challenging you to a match tonight. And this match was made. Love the fact that Thea Hale has I Believe in Thea Hale like kicking off her entrance music now. She's not coming out to Joe Hendry's theme, just with her name, replacing Joe Hendry's.
Although that
She's
would be hilarious if it was like one of those obvious cuts of like play the song and then just sort of Thea Hale, and then it goes into the song again. That would be
right.
funny.
Well, they did that a couple weeks ago, and they had Joe Hendry actually like re-record the parts where he would say Joe Hendry and said Thea Hale, and she came when she popped out of the cake. We heard that, and then I think the following week. So, but she kept the I Believe in Thea Hale to kick her music off, and then it goes into her new kind of guitar riff generic music 03 that we get out of um, wow, what the heck's the name of the people? I can't. I wanted to say CFO, and it's not CFO. Then do the other guys. Yeah, it's gonna drive me nuts. Can't think of their name. It's on the tip
Is
of
it
my
like
tongue.
Deaf Beats or something like? What is it like?
Yeah, Def Rebel, I think, something like that.
Yes, Def Rebel. There you
Def
go.
Rebel, that's it. So yeah, there was that. Yep, Def Rebel. Thank you, Joven. Just hit me up on Discord. Um, so yeah, Thea Hale and Ariana Grace. This was a relatively quick match, as we expected it would be, about 2 minutes or so. Some of that was in commercial break, so Kelly doesn't have an exact time, but about 2 minutes. I thought this was great. Thea or Joe, sorry, Stax tried to make a little bit of a uh, interference and grab Thea Hale by the leg. Joe Hendry comes around, takes care of Stax with a standing ovation to the apron, which allows Thea Hale to kind of capitalize on Ariana being a bit surprised by the whole thing, and Thea snatched in the Kimura for the win. So yeah, I mean, I think this was exactly what it should have been. Ariana, she's not, she's and never has been like a serious competitor. Not that she's not good, that's just her gimmick. She's more of a beauty queen, I guess, than an in-ring wrestler, even though we've seen her wrestle many times. But I think Ariana did great. She sold really well for Thea. Thea, all the energy in the world. Like if I just had 10% of the energy that Thea Hale had, I'd have a great day. So yeah, I think this all definitely works out. I love the pairing of Joe and Thea Hale. Does it feel maybe a little bit beneath Joe Hendry after everything that he's done? TNA champion, showing up at WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, Randy Orton, I guess that was WrestleMania, all of that. Yeah, maybe, but you can't not everybody can be up at the top all at the same time, so you got to slide down the card here and there. And I think this is a great way to get Thea Hale some experience with a veteran like Joe Hendry. He might be new to NXT, but I mean, he's been doing this for at least 10, 15 years or so now, if not more. Um, so I think it's a great partnership. She's going to learn a lot there. Plus, she's going to be able to play off of him so well, and he her for that matter. Um, so yeah, I'm pumped to see where this pairing goes. If it's a short-term pairing, I'm here for it as long as it's going to be here. Um, I don't necessarily want it to be super long-term because I would like to see Joe Hendry kind of get back up to the main event scene and feel a little bit more important on the card again. But in the meantime, I'm here for it. I think this is hilarious and a great use of Hendry to help elevate Thea Hale. So let me throw it to you on believing in Hendry and Hale.
Yeah, well, I mean, do you see my tagline down there? I'm the doctor of believability today.
Yes, you
Um,
are.
you know, I, yeah, I'm for this, right? Like, I think once Thea left Chase U, she was kind of a rudderless boat, if you will. And as we try to further endear Joe Hendry to the NXT and WWE audiences, she's a Spitfire, man. And I think kind of like how, I know you've said this before, and even in sort of some of the comments you made a little bit ago, ride her wave. Like I think she's got that special charisma piece that a lot of performers are missing, man or woman. And I think while it is a bit much, I do want to say that I think she has scaled it way down from when she first came in with Chase U and literally looked like she was having some sort of heart attack every time she came out on the mat. So I think she's finding a sweet spot. I think she's finding this new evolution of her character. And I think Joe is the person to help facilitate that transition. Um, did we talk about the match yet? Do you want me to talk about the match?
Yeah, no, go. Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, and of course I'm a big Ariana Grande fan. Oh, I did it too. Ariana Grace fan, um, purely because of who her father is. I think she very much lives the Miss NXT or whatever the beauty pageant name she's giving herself. But no, I think she was just fine in the ring. You know what? You know what, Nate? You guys may have talked about this already. I could very if Ariana is doing the things that she needs to be doing, I could very easily see her stepping into the Chelsea Green role. I think she's someone that is good
Yeah,
in the ring with her current gimmick. Boy, there's nothing better than watching the beauty pageant get her face kicked in. Um, so I think she would be able to generate that heel heat in the way that Chelsea currently does. And so I think if you're looking for some understudies, she might be a great one to sort of groom that way because I do think she's entertaining. I do think she tries to connect in either good ways or bad ways with the crowd. Um, so long as she is partnered with Stax, I think that hampers her growth a little bit because he's not much of a value added proposition right now. But I thought the match was fun. I thought they both worked. They tried to get the people in the crowd into the show, and so I don't have anything bad to say about it. I know there were a few bumps and a few thises and a few that's, but that's live event management for you. So
one of my favorite calls of the night happened. Ooh, my battery is going to die. Hopefully, it doesn't before my headset before the show ends. Um, but one of my favorite things about this match was they were talking about um, Stax's Stax and Grace's feud with Steve Macklin in TNA, and how Steve Macklin wanted to make Stax a forgotten son of Santino. I thought that was a great callback. If you know, you know. Steve Macklin was Steve Cutler in NXT and on the main roster in a stable called the Forgotten Sons. And if you forgot about the Forgotten Sons,
Nope, I did
I
not
would
forget.
I wouldn't have blamed you. But if you did, but nope, Kevin and I remember the Forgotten Sons. Um, God, Jackson Riker was such a terrible name.
You know who
Anyway,
else I miss? I
who's
miss
that?
Sanity.
Yeah, yeah. There's so much potential there, and oh, oh. But
And I think I just really like Eric Young. Now that I'm seeing him
yeah,
on
EY is
TNA
great.
doing his thing, I miss Sanity.
Yeah, no, EY is amazing. Like super. I don't know. I'm surprised his run in WWE didn't go better than it did, because such a talented performer. All right. Well, with that, I think that is going to bring us to the end of our show. So I'm Nate Lindberg, host of the show here. You can check the things I do out at natelindberg.com. Hopefully, Kelly will be returning with me next week. And at some point between the end of deadline and our show next week, next Tuesday, we'll probably be recording a VIP roundtable for deadline. So check that out. Go VIP if you haven't already. Kevin, thank you very much for joining us today. Who are you?
Anytime, Nate, you know I'm only one. I'm always in the bullpen, ready to go.
Yes, you are.
Um, I I'm Kevin Cattani. Um, very much a regular member of the bullpen here for PWT Talks NXT. Um, I love talking wrestling. I love talking emotional intelligence. You can find me on the Twitterverse at KP Katani. Come chat. I love to talk about a lot of things. I'm an academic. I'm a college professor, so talking and is something I do, which I love to do. So please come interact. And again, I look forward to the next time I'll be on with you guys. Good fella, cheers to you as well. CJ, if you're still on, good evening. And then what was all the hullabaloo with Brian wanting to call in and then he didn't call in?
He said in an email he's going to call in
Oh,
next week. So we'll talk to Brian next week.
Brian!
I know,
Dang
I
it.
know. Well, hey, you'll need to call in too. We'll just
Oh,
get you
well,
both
you're
up there, right?
there you go. Well, thank you again, Nate, and I look forward to the next time.
All right. And with that, horseshoe.